The kind of people who drive narcissists crazy. In today's exploration of Narcissist and karma, we're diving into a fascinating question. What kind of people truly unsettle narcissists? For individuals who thrive on control, manipulation, and domination, there is nothing more terrifying than encountering someone who refuses to play their game. As Dr. Ramoni Dervasula often says, narcissists view people not as partners or companions, but as appliances, tools to supply them with admiration, compliance, or utility. Once you stop supplying, you stop mattering. But what happens when you are not only unwilling to supply, but also resistant to being controlled at all? That, to a narcissist, is intolerable. Psychologists agree that one of the most destabilizing forces in a narcissist's world is a person who cannot be controlled. Dr. Eleanor Greenberg explains that narcissists live with a fragile self-esteem that depends on dominating others. Losing that control triggers what is known as narcissistic injury. To them, losing is not just a setback. It's a crack in the very mask they wear to survive. The mere thought that someone could outmaneuver them, expose their weakness, or ignore their influence gnaws at their carefully crafted illusion of superiority. This is why they often go to extreme lengths to eliminate such people from their orbit, even if it means smear campaigns, sabotage, or emotional warfare. So who are these people? The ones narcissists secretly fear. Psychologists identify several traits that act like kryptonite against narcissistic manipulation. And if you embody even 2 of these traits consistently, you become difficult, sometimes impossible, for a narcissist to control. The first trait is an unshakable respect for personal boundaries. For narcissists, boundaries are intolerable barriers because they threaten their sense of entitlement. Dr. George Simon, an expert in manipulative personalities, points out that narcissists believe they are owed access to your time, your energy, and even your emotional life. So when someone says no with clarity and consistency, it creates rage. This isn't just irritation, it's narcissistic rage, the volcanic response that emerges when their perceived superiority is challenged. For the victim, holding firm boundaries can feel exhausting because the narcissist will test them again and again. Yet psychologists stress that this resistance is vital. Boundaries are not walls of isolation, but shields of self-respect. They remind the narcissist, and more importantly, yourself, that your life belongs to you. The second trait is courage. Narcissists are skilled at intimidating others into silence, whether through anger, guilt, or manipulation. But when someone has the courage to confront lies, call out hypocrisy, or simply refuse to be bullied, the narcissist is destabilized. Dr. Craig Malkin calls this healthy fearlessness, the capacity to see through intimidation tactics without collapsing into compliance. For the narcissist, such individuals are maddening because they cannot easily be cowed into submission. For the victim, this courage doesn't mean seeking constant confrontation, but rather holding ground when necessary. And often, the narcissist's power dissolves the moment they realize their threats and tantrums no longer command obedience. The third type of person who unsettles narcissists is the unimpressed observer. Narcissists build their identity on a fragile, inflated self-image that demands admiration. They thrive on applause, validation, and envy. But as Dr. Carol McBride notes, when someone remains neutral, unimpressed by their theatrics, skeptical of their exaggerated accomplishments, unwilling to offer easy praise, it punctures their illusion. To a narcissist, this feels like exposure. Victims who adopt this stance are not being cruel. They are simply refusing to feed the narcissist's endless appetite for validation. Over time, this indifference acts like a mirror, reflecting back to the narcissist that their mask holds no power here. Finally, there are those who make the narcissist feel insignificant. These individuals do not invite narcissists into their personal spaces, do not seek their approval, and do not respond to their bait. They may employ what psychologists call the gray rock method, responding with calm indifference to attempts at provocation. Dr. Ramoni explains that narcissists despise being ignored because attention, whether positive or negative, fuels them. When you disengage, you cut off their supply. For the narcissist, this is intolerable. It makes them feel erased, irrelevant, and powerless. And yet for the victim, this strategy is often the most liberating. By refusing to dance to the narcissist's tune, You reclaim your energy and remind yourself that their chaos does not define your life. In every case, the same principle holds true. Narcissists lose their grip when they cannot control you. They may rage, manipulate, seduce, or threaten. But these tactics collapse in the presence of firm boundaries, courage, indifference, and disengagement. The more you cultivate these qualities, the less space they have to operate in your life. And while the narcissist may never change, you are no longer their stepping stone. You are your own person, untouchable and free. The fifth trait that drives narcissists into emotional chaos is the presence of someone more successful than they are. To most people, another person's success might inspire motivation, curiosity, or even admiration. But for narcissists, psychologists point out that success in others is not neutral, it's an attack. Dr. Ramoni Dervisula often emphasizes that narcissists compare themselves relentlessly, even over the smallest things. If one person owns a home and they do not, or if a friend can travel freely while they remain restricted, the imbalance gnaws at them like a wound. Envy is at the very core of narcissistic pathology. It is not the kind of envy that fades away, but a chronic torment reminding them of their inadequacy. For the narcissist, another person's marriage, job title, or financial stability represents a mirror reflecting back their own shortcomings. Dr. Melanie Klein described envy as the pain of seeing something good in another and feeling compelled to destroy it because one cannot bear not to have it. This is precisely why narcissists often attack or devalue people more successful than them. For the victim, this can feel confusing. Why does sharing good news provoke hostility instead of support? Psychologists encourage victims not to internalize this reaction. The hostility is not about you. It is the narcissist's inability to tolerate their own feelings of inferiority. The healthiest strategy is to detach emotionally and remember, their rage is not your responsibility. The sixth trait is independence, a free spirit who thrives without needing approval or validation from others. Such people, psychologists explain, represent everything the narcissist cannot be. Dr. Craig Malkin identifies authentic independence as deeply threatening to narcissists because it signals immunity to manipulation. A free-spirited person laughs openly, pursues their passions, and radiates joy without being chained to external validation. For the narcissist, who is perpetually reliant on admiration, this freedom is a reminder of their own prison. It infuriates them because it shows them that happiness exists beyond their reach, outside the fragile mask they wear. Consider the way a narcissist reacts to genuine joy. Dr. Heinz Kohut, who studied narcissistic personality structures, described narcissists as incapable of sustaining self-esteem without constant external fuel. So when they encounter someone who glows from within, someone cheerful, content, and unbothered, it's like salt in a wound. Instead of celebrating the joy, they attempt to extinguish it with criticism, mockery, or subtle sabotage. For the victim, it is important to protect this joy fiercely. Psychologists recommend practicing what's known as emotional shielding, keeping certain aspects of your happiness private, away from the narcissist's corrosive gaze. Your joy doesn't need their approval to exist. Another figure who deeply unsettles narcissists is the authentic truth-teller. Narcissists rely heavily on storytelling, often fabrications, exaggerations, and self-glorification, to maintain their inflated image. They gossip, they complain, they boast. But when they encounter someone who speaks candidly, owns their mistakes, and naturally commands attention through authenticity, it destabilizes them. Psychologists argue that authenticity is the one trait narcissists cannot fake for long. Dr. Brené Brown calls authenticity the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. This practice is impossible for narcissists, who live in the constant performance of an idealized self. For victims, authenticity is not only a defense but also a weapon. It shines a light on the narcissist's artificiality and strips their mask of power. Truth, above all else, terrifies narcissists. A person who embodies honesty exposes them without even trying. Narcissists, as Dr. George Simon notes, project their own deceit onto the world. They assume everyone lies because they themselves cannot stop lying. So when they encounter someone who is consistently transparent, it disrupts their worldview and threatens to reveal their manipulations. In such cases, narcissists often retreat, avoid, or attempt character assassination to neutralize the threat. Victims who embody truth must be prepared for this backlash. But psychologists emphasize that truth-tellers hold a unique power. They cannot be controlled. And narcissists know it. When narcissists realize they cannot influence or dominate you, hostility often follows. They may smear your reputation, sow seeds of doubt, or try to recruit others against you. These tactics are designed to regain control indirectly. Yet the ultimate irony is this. The people narcissists fear the most, the successful, the independent, the authentic, are the very people they cannot destroy. Psychologists remind us that narcissists thrive in environments of silence, submission, and secrecy. When confronted with people who embody sincerity, self-respect, and resilience, they are forced into retreat. To summarize, narcissists' greatest nightmares are not grand battles or dramatic showdowns. They are the quiet, steady presence of people who live truthfully, set firm boundaries, and radiate joy they cannot corrupt. These individuals remind narcissists of everything they lack: authenticity, courage, and a healthy relationship with themselves. And though narcissists may rage, sulk, or plot, they cannot dismantle what is genuine. Ultimately, psychologists encourage anyone entangled with a narcissist to see this truth as liberating. If you embody success, independence, and authenticity, you are not only free, you are untouchable. And in the world of narcissistic dynamics, that is the greatest victory of all. And so, we come to the close of today's discussion. My hope is that as you sit with what we've unpacked, you don't just hear these words as abstract ideas about narcissism, but that you can begin to recognize how these patterns may have touched your own life, shaped your relationships, or even influenced the way you see yourself. Knowledge, especially when it comes to personalities that thrive on manipulation and control, is not just information. It is power, it is clarity, and sometimes it is the first lifeline toward healing. If something I've shared today resonates with you, I truly encourage you to bring your thoughts, your stories, or even your questions into the comments section below. Very often, just by speaking your experience out loud, you not only begin the process of reclaiming your voice, but you also give others permission to see that they are not alone in theirs. This community is built on that kind of connection, on the courage to say, yes, I've been there too. And if you would like to continue receiving insights like this, consider subscribing to this channel and clicking the bell icon. It may seem like a small act, but it is one of the simplest ways to stay tethered to content that reminds you of your strength, your worth, and your ability to move forward with greater clarity. As always, I deeply appreciate the time and presence you've given to this conversation. Take what feels useful, leave behind what does not, and above all, remember, your truth, your boundaries, and your authenticity are the very things that protect you in a world that sometimes tries to blur those lines. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you.